Peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the entree musician, and so are you. And I tell you, if you were to ask me 5 minutes ago, Jerry, are you a drummer? I would sit back in my chair with confidence. I would hold up my sticks. I'd tell you about my Yamaha Studio custom maple kit. I'd tell you about where I've been, who I've played with. And then you would say to me the name Tom BRECHTLEIN, and I would go, wait a minute. Let me put my sticks down. Let me lean in a little closer and listen, because I can tell you what, this gentleman right here is the master. Chick Corea, Wayne Shorter, Aldi Meola, Robben Ford, on and on and on, TV, film, soundtracks. I just play the drums, but this is Tom BRECHTLEIN, and he is the drummer. How you doing, my friend?
Good, Jerry. You know, how's the weather over there?
Weather's a little rainy today. A little rainy. Spring is promising that it will come in, but she hasn't.
Is it cold over there?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I know cold. You know, I was brought up in New York, so shoveled a lot of snow, man.
Absolutely. So have I.
As probably you have, you know.
Well, I actually prefer the shovel over the snowblower, believe it or not. I just think
me too.
More done. You know.
Although, I don't know about that these days. Well, I don't have to worry about it because I'm in Austin now. So
yeah, it's pretty chilly in Boston, though, isn't it?
Austin, Texas.
Oh, Austin. I apologize. I thought you said Boston,
yeah.
But yeah, Austin, Texas. Then you don't have to worry about a shovel at all.
Yeah, it's nice. You just have to worry about tornadoes. You don't have to worry about earthquakes anymore. You know, because I moved to Los Angeles a long time ago, and then we got out of Los Angeles. No tear. But so you just got to watch the tornado watches and go, okay, instead of waking up to, you know.
Every piece of geography has its,
own thing. Yeah.
Right. I had a friend recently who lost his home in Fort Myers about 2 weeks after he put it up for sale. I mean, the whole thing flatlined. So, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's been some things going on. But I'm so grateful that you're here with us, man. I'm grateful. I really dig the posts that you're putting out on social media. You're just gigging with everybody. It's like, we had the little dip, but you haven't stopped because you're just on point.
Well, during the pandemic, I mean, I was out with Eric Johnson in 2020, and purely those posts that I do came about when I think they sent us home March 13th because of the pandemic. Yeah. And I remember coming home, and it was nice. It's always nice to be home because we had been out since January. Mm-hmm. We had 2 weeks left in the tour. And I'm going, come on, just 2 more weeks. Then they pulled the plug, and we went home. We were in Florida, as a matter of fact, and then we drove all the way back. And I remember the next day, after looking at the going to the seeing the harsh reality of what was happening at home, because when you're on the road, you kind of live in a bubble.
Yeah. And
you go into the grocery store, and there's no toilet paper or paper towels or anything. Yeah. You go like, man, this is a science fiction movie here. So, but I remember standing after all that, I remember standing in the middle of the living room and go, okay, I mean, for some reason, I wasn't freaking out. And I kind of went, well, what do I do now? That's basically what I said. And then I was working on some, with one of the video programs, But I had gone away from it because it was just like, oh man, this is too convoluted for me. This was the year prior.
Yeah.
Trying to do maybe instructional things, picture within a picture and graphics and all that baloney. And I said, everybody's posting these videos, I said, the worst that could happen is I post it and it sucks and nobody likes it, to be frank with you,
Exactly right. Exactly.
So I put it up. And within 2 days, the production company called me up to do recording with video.
Wow.
2 tunes became 9. And then I think his name is Omar Fakir, great keyboard player. He called me up to do a recording and a video. So I went, okay.
Wow.
So then I learned from the production company, they said, make sure you slate it. And I went, well, what do you mean? Because, I'm not a TV producer or a movie producer. I don't know that. I mean, I remember they slayed it,
Right.
And they said, yes, when you do the audio from your DAW, your digital
Workstation.
What's it called? Yeah, digital workstation.
Yeah.
Should be a DWS.
Right.
But you do the MP3, you can put it together. And I went, oh,
That's right.
like the most obvious thing. So then I started getting into that. So, and then people were asking me to record, and then Sandro Albert, great guitar player, he's got some records out, and he's now in New York, but I used to play with him a lot in Los Angeles. He was doing a project called the Homeboys, which all these guys, from the New York area.
Yeah.
So he was doing videos and, and audio with, and either check that out. I don't know the link, but we did about 7 of them. And then I started doing that, and then people started calling me up for, hey, do you do track? I go, yeah, just from the advertisements on Facebook.
Right.
Because, after getting 3 with that first video, which wasn't even related to the studio, I went, oh, wow, well, that works. Well, I'll put another one up,
Right.
And then so on and so on. So for all of you out there who see this podcast to say, yeah, he's one big-headed you-know-what, that's not the case.
Right.
Because I say at the end of the advertisement, I go, am I advertising? Hell yes, Because at that time, you couldn't go out,
That's right.
So I continued that, and I'm still continuing it. So that's the purpose of doing the Facebook thing. And then you learn about groups, and then people decline your...
Yeah.
Because you're going against the rules, the whole deal. And now, I dovetail that with all the live stuff that I do. And I it's great. And then, I still do sessions where you arrive with 3 other guys.
Yeah.
But I do a lot. And I said, well, this is a good thing to get into,
Absolutely.
So I also did I think a couple of months after that or something, maybe a year after that, I got called by a guy I used to work for, producer Joe Vitarelli, and in Los Angeles. And I did remote cues, like kind of percussive and drum set for that Sean Penn movie Flag Day. And they get, so yeah. Am I advertising right now? Hell yes.
Of course.
So vote for me. No, I'm kidding. But that's how that all, came about with the things. And that's why I still do it. And it's nice, some old friends, you reconnect even with that, with those posts,
Certainly. Certainly. So with respect to technology and how, that, the shutdown kind of drove us into rethinking who we are as musicians. I mean, and out of that shutdown was where the Entre Musician podcast actually grew its legs, because we were doing it prior to. But how have you been influenced now that things are kind of opening up and, you can hit the road a little bit? Do you still employ, technology to the extent of, okay, I had to do it then, but I choose to do it now for these reasons?
Are you talking about the studio here?
Yeah, the studio, using technology on the road, using technology in recording. How has it really, driven you into it where it's comfortable, it's convenient, and you go, man, I don't know how I could have.
Well, it was definitely, I started this stuff before the pandemic.
I see.
And then and then it's funny. You learn by doing. It's the same thing with playing your instrument. You get a little bit of instruction, and then you go with it, and then you learn something new every day by people who know more than you what they're doing. Like I shied away from this technology before we moved to Texas, and I used to have somebody else do the engineering and everything for me. Hussein Jifri did that for me in his studio. Great bass player.
Yeah.
He's played with Sergio Mendes. He's played with Herb Alpert, and he's also produced stuff, and he's an engineer.
Wow.
So I shied away from it because I thought, okay, if I send tracks, you have to. Am I answering your question, by the way? I don't want to go off.
No, you are.
So I said, well, how do I, I don't want to mix the stuff or EQ the stuff or whatever. Until finally, I think he's the one that told me, he goes, no, you don't have to do that. The people you send the files to do all that. You just have to make sure that the levels are right, the drums are tuned right, just like when you go to a session, And I went, okay, well, then I'm in. So we built this studio, and it works out great. I've got no complaints yet,
Right.
When I first put the drums up and the mics and everything, I did a test run. I sent them to Hussein and a couple of other engineers, and they said, man, the room sounds great. The drums sound great.
Yeah.
Don't change anything,
Yeah.
And I went, okay. So then I did my first project. Had to be 7 years ago, 6 years ago, on my own, solo. And they loved it. So I went, okay. So then when I did this thing for the production company, I kept on asking, it was almost like I didn't care what I played on it. I said, how do the drums sound? Is there any phasing? Is there any blah, blah, blah? And they go, no. And I went, oh, great, they like the playing, but I was more concerned with that. But the thing is to keep it simple, and then with the, using the Logic Pro and yada, 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 and all the stuff, you kind of learn and through guys that, like I said, know more than you do.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, man, you could do that too. Oh, you could do that too. Oh, yeah, okay, fine, cool. Let's
show me how.
Let's do that. And I remember, to drop a name, I talked to Rick Marotta because we're friends, and I know Rick and Jerry, and Rick was funny. He's going, the two of those guys are amazing. Not only are they icons and they're incredible musicians.
Yeah.
Rick's going, Tommy, you just gotta play with it. You just for a half an hour, do this, you can do, and then these plugins you can use. And I'm going, Rick, I'm not going that far. And then later on, I discovered these plugins, which I don't use, but I play with, and because my basic thing is just getting the best tracks down for the person that I'm working for, like in the studio. So yeah, to make a long story longer, that was definitely changed. And then it was great because I could work here. Like I'd start doing a project maybe around 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, and then I'd be done by 3 or something, and then I go to my gigs, and then I come back, and then sometimes I do it a little bit later and come out, and my Evelyn has got, she texts me because you can stay in there and hibernate, not come out. She goes, look, dinner's in 5 minutes. If you don't come in 5 minutes, I'm eating without you.
Understood. Now, did
that answer your question?
It did, and more actually. Okay. I'm grateful for the conversation because you tend to pick up the what's going on behind the scenes as you're asking questions, because Rick Marotta,
Right.
I mean, my God,
Right.
right. So do you play any other instruments other than drums? So when you're in there, are you composing
Unfortunately
with keys
not,
or
you
no?
know, but I have a piano here and I'm dabbling with that. You
Hmm.
know, what is this? Pianos for Dummies? No, but I mean, when I was I went to Nassau Community College for 2 years, and they used to have piano minor, and that was the last time,
Hmm.
I played piano. But I have a guitar sitting here too. I got to learn how to play guitar, man. How about you? You play any other instruments?
I play bass in the studio and keys, but that's
Nice.
because I'm composing as I'm going along. I would never utilize those instruments on stage. I would stick to what I know. And my
It's
strongest
really good
instrument
to
is
know
bass.
that the drummers
Yeah.
I really like listening to know how to play piano or
Yeah.
another instrument because
Yeah.
they're on the other side of the deal. They know that, and
Yeah.
it's it's really I'm not envious, but I'm like,
I was wondering
I
because
appreciate that.
I'm, I mean, you have such a deep discography, and I'm wondering where is the Tom Breckline projects? Where are they at? Where
Where's
it's
the
all
wife?
your stuff, the Tom Breckline projects, your solo stuff. I mean, where's that? Because your
Oh,
discography is so full of you, being the sideman on so many legendary recordings.
yeah.
Where's your stuff?
I like being a sideman. There was one time I put together a group because I had free studio time, and with Jimmy Earl and Jeff Babco, we just went and recorded some stuff. It's there. Jimmy's got it. Jimmy Earl has it, and he mixed it, but it's I don't even know if it's mastered. I mean, Jimmy went ahead and mixed it.
Hmm.
God bless him. And it's like, uh, yeah, we did about 4 tunes, and we did some gigs. We called it Rhythm Dogs, DAWGS.
Mm.
But that was the closest I've ever come. But I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it might happen, but
You're happy
I'm
where
too
you are.
happy being a sideman. I don't have to juggle things and worry about. I guess, or maybe I'm just too lazy, But I still practice,
Yeah.
and check out different players and
So who are you listening
different
to?
types of music.
Which drummers are exciting you now who are out here?
Oh, uh, oh boy, it's called 65, man. Oh.
Yeah, I can
The
dig it.
Fellowship. Uh,
Yeah,
ah,
yeah.
see,
Okay.
you too, huh?
So me too. So, but
Brian Blade.
Brian, yeah,
Brian Blade is from another universe.
yeah, yeah.
He's from he's from Mars, man. He is plus he to me he is music.
Mm.
You know what I
He's playing
mean?
all the
He's
he's playing
just
all the instruments. He's playing the melodies. He's playing the rhythms.
oh man,
He's
he's
playing
just
the lead
free, man.
lines.
And he exudes the groove to where everybody gets it.
Yeah, yeah,
Very high level of playing, But
absolutely.
he's there, and people they can feel
Mm.
his. That's what I get.
Yeah,
He's like going around the stuff, and but man, you can feel that pocket just the same. You know,
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely
he's
right.
brilliant.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, Bill Stewart. Um, oh man, you're asking me who the drummers that I like.
Yeah,
I mean,
who you digging on? Right
of
now.
course, Bernard Purdy.
Yeah, man.
I mean, Al Jackson. Well, he's not with us anymore, and
Mhm.
um, oh God, Sam Lay,
Mm.
Steve Gadd, of course,
Steven.
Rick Marotta, Chris Parker,
Yes.
um, Jabbo Starks, Clyde Stubblefield, Melvin Parker.
Oh my God.
I feel good, Melvin Parker,
Right,
who I
right.
had at the North Sea Jazz Festival,
Mhm.
and he looked younger than me in 1993.
Wow.
And And he also played on All the King's Men, the Maceo Parker record, that first Maceo Parker record.
Yeah.
With Southwick and all that great stuff on it.
Exactly.
And I remember we were sitting having lunch, and I can't remember the organ player's name, but he was playing with Maceo that day. And it was Melvin and another drummer that was playing with them. And we're sitting, and I had no idea I was sitting across the picnic table from Melvin Parker. And I'm like, and then finally he says, "This is Melvin Parker." I said, "You mean the Melvin Parker? You mean the I Feel Good Melvin Parker? You mean the Southwick Melvin Parker?" And I got on my knees, I swear to God. I wasn't being like, but I got away. I said, "Thank you."
Yeah, man.
So that was cool. He smiled. I mean, he looked like a teenager. When did they record that thing? It was like, holy smokes. And then Willie Green. I love Willie Green.
Oh yeah. What do you think about Roy Haynes?
With the Devil
he just
Brothers.
Turned like 90, didn't he? Roy Haynes. He
What's
just
that?
turned like 90, didn't he? Roy Haynes.
Oh, Roy Haynes, of course. Tony Williams. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, Ndugu, Leon Chancellor.
He's no longer with us, unfortunately.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
We didn't hang out a lot together, but he was really great to me.
Yeah.
Throughout the years, he was really, Ndugu. He was something else. I remember when I didn't make his birthday party. He goes, "Looks like a great birthday party," and I get back, "Well, you weren't there, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah."
Hey, he noticed though. He noticed. That's cool.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, I remember we did a groove night, and I was very flattered. And I mean, we did a lot of those Yamaha groove nights at NAMM show, where if you played more than a 32nd note or a 16th note, we'd all beat up on the guy who did that. This was about groove night. And there was one night there was 1 year they wanted to double up the drummers. And Ndugu said, "Who would you like to play?" Because I want to play with Tom. And I was like, holy crap, for lack of a better, I'd say, hope the other word.
Yeah, euphemisms abound.
If they're youngsters watching.
Right.
And I remember the day he gets me in his car, he closes the door, and he goes, "So listen, man, I want to play a ballad." And he looks at me, and I go, "That's great. 2 drummers ballad." I think we played After the Love Is Gone.
Wow.
And it came out great. And I'll tell you after the podcast what he said to me to get the pocket deeper. But he looked at me like this, and he said, "Da da da da." I can't say it, but it was great. And I started laughing my butt off, man. It was really great. I mean, I can't say enough about Ndugu as a mentor to other musicians. You know what I mean? And an inspiration to pretty much, I think a lot of drummers would agree, at least in my age group,
Absolutely.
And those George Duke records he played on.
That's right. I
mean, and all the, I mean, he played with everybody. And he also produced and wrote too.
That was the reason why I asked you, because most drummers are multi-layered in that way, who, have that sense, like Narada Michael Walden was more famous for his
he's another guy
than he was for drumming. So, most drummers are really black men that are more popular on stage.
Last night, I was just watching something on him, and oh, come on. It's like, Jim Keltner's another one. Who played on Use Me Up?
Bill Withers? Bill Withers?
Yeah, Bill Withers.
Oh, man, I don't know who the drummer is.
Talking about...
Oh, my gosh. I shouldn't
play with Marvin Gaye. He played with this,
Yeah.
I know him. I mean, it's like, see what's happening? Hold on.
Well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you can't remember either, because
I'll take the fall.
Well, it helps,
Well,
even the playing field, so to speak.
you can edit that out. That
But
I
that was a
can't.
funky. I mean, that beat was just like a killer right there. I mean,
Forget
come
it.
on.
Here, I'll tell you right now. James Gadson.
Gadson. But he played with
Woo!
everybody. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
man,
he was a session
and
monster.
this, yeah, he's the sweetest guy you'd ever want to meet. And you see those things on YouTube where he's just.
I saw Dave Weckyl play that the other night on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did use me and just he's another monster that I love.
Yeah, he is. He is definitely. But
so, let me ask you
James
this question:
Yeah.
with respect to all of these legendary musicians that you've played with, is there someone that's out there that you would go, you know what, I would really love to sit in with him or her?
Is there somebody out there that I love? What?
Love to sit in with him or her, musician.
Oh gosh. Oy. That's a tough one. There's a lot of people. Well, some of them are gone now.
Yeah. Well, tell me this. I mean, you played, and as of this recording, we're still less than a month from Wayne Shorter leaving us. Tell me about your time with Wayne and that wonderful album that you were on with him, and just his spirit. Can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, Wayne was great. Okay, I could sit in with. It would definitely be a rocket ride, but Pat Metheny, I'd like to.
Oh my!
Sit in with him.
Gee, Antonio
I'd learn a lot
Sanchez
and
has
get my
been
butt
doing
kicked.
some things.
Sorry?
Antonio Sanchez has been doing some great things with Pat Metheny. I mean,
Antonio's crazy good,
Yeah.
and quite a gentleman. And he's his own group. Was it Los Hombres?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
That's a great group,
Yeah.
And did I say Bill Stewart at all too?
You did say Bill.
Yeah, with Larry Goldings. And here's another guy I'd like to sit in. I'd like to sit in with John Scofield. Without a doubt,
There you go.
Without a doubt.
Wow.
Yeah. But getting back to Wayne was the kindest person I ever worked with. And I'm not saying humble, but he knew who he was. He knows who he is.
Yeah.
Talking the present. But it wasn't like I'm Wayne Shorter. It was more like, you're my guys,
Yeah.
And I had such great times with him. And he used to say, because I was so used to giving what's needed and wanted for the artist most of the time, And I remember one of the first rehearsals with Wayne. I said, "What would you like me to play here, Wayne?" And he looked at me and go, "You know what you're doing, He says, "I'm going to leave you alone,
Wow.
And the two instructions he gave me the whole time I was with him. The first one, and I hadn't been on the road I hadn't been in Europe for a couple of years. And we were in Europe, and he instructed me, I'm going to tell you, set this up a little bit. We were in Berlin. And the group was me, Gary Willis, Tom Canning, and later on Mitchell Foreman played. And it was a great band. I loved, Gary and I had been playing a lot together in Los Angeles, and along with other people, whatever. Yeah. So we're sitting inside the stage, and it's going really great. Every night's getting better and better and better. It was right after the Atlantis record came out, which was right after the breakup with Weather Report. Mm-hmm. And so we're standing at the side, and I'm going, man, it's going great, right? And Zawinul was doing this thing at the time when it was still, things were still MIDI. I can't remember the name of the keyboards, but you could hook them up with these.
Oh yeah,
these bands of wire.
Oh yeah, and
So they
stack
all
them.
work
He
together.
stack them. Yeah, all the sound.
Yeah. So he had it all strewn around, and he was playing, and he's had these tunes, and the crowd in Berlin were booing him and throwing paper airplanes onto the stage.
Gee, man.
And so I didn't think, I said, oh my God, well, this stuff, what's wrong with this? This is great. This is like some other stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So we're standing at the side of the stage, and Wayne comes up to me and he says, it's been going great. Every night's been better than the next. And he comes up to me and he says, this is totally unlike Wayne. And he goes, Tom, when we play Beauty and the Beast tonight, I want you to dance. Real serious, like. He says, I want people to know you can play before your drum solo. I'm looking at Gary, I said, what the bleep was that all about, you know? So we start playing Beauty and the Beast, and he goes, bop, bop. He's looking at me, he's like this, he's got the horn kind of in his mouth. He's looking at me, he's going, dance. I said, okay, you know? And he kept on going, he goes, dance. And I said, I'll give you dancing. And I was getting a little pissed, you know? And so we play, and then we played up to the middle, I think it was the second or third tune, and we got a standing ovation from the crowd. And we finished the gig, and I was kind of pissed off, you know, and I looked at Gary, and the girlfriend he was with, his girlfriend at the time, very nice lady, she comes up to us and she says, do you know what you guys just did? I said, what? Because you just wowed the toughest audience in Europe. Wow. And I said, is that why Wayne gave me all that, did all that stuff to me? And Wayne pops his head out of a column with a big smile on his face. He goes, you got that right. Like that. And he comes up and he gives me a big hug, and he puts his head on my shoulder, and he goes, oh, like, sounded great. You know, I said, I looked at him, because you could say this to Wayne, because he was your buddy, you know? Yeah. And I go, don't ever do that again. He goes, I won't. And of course, he was probably, I mean, he never did that again. I mean, you know, and that was a great moment, you know, that he had the, you know, he needed the juice. So he got it from the engine room, you know. He pissed the engine room off. I always say he probably did a Miles on me, you know.
Well, he got it honest,
you know, he knew what to do or say to get the results, and he got the result he wanted. Yeah. And the other thing, and you could see it on Facebook. I mean, not Facebook.
YouTube.
YouTube. It's when we got into the North Sea. We weren't supposed to be on the main stage. And I remember we were tired. I mean, I'm unshaved. I mean, we just got in, and we went right on after the Neville Brothers. Wow. Which Willie Green sounded amazing. And then Schofield was on. And so anyway, so we got on, and for some reason I knew it was going to be a really great night, you know, and it was. But we got into the main tent at the time. It's all changed now at the North Sea, but excuse me. And I remember we used to do one of the numbers in the set where it was Endangered Species from the Atlantis record. And we played it quite different from the record version. And I was playing it real tight on the hi-hat, mostly at the beginning of the tour. And so he came out. This is the other instruction he gave me. He goes, Tom, he says, when we do Endangered Species tonight, I want you to come out like King Kong. And I went, and I kind of knew what he meant. This is King Kong. I say, so I'm thinking Al Foster, open the hi-hat, you know, instead of, you know, because all these other notes are staccato, you know, so I'm coming like that.
Right.
And you can see him. I mean, because the video, he's doing this. He's going like wider, you know. And he's like going, And you can see him on the video. And I went, okay. And then he was cool. After that, we got it at the right thing. And after that, that was it, But those are the only 2 times he kind of told me what to do,
That's beautiful.
And it was great. He was awesome. He was, not only is he iconic and one of the greatest composers of the 20th and the 21st century, he's also an incredible guy.
Yeah.
Incredible guy.
Absolutely.
And I love him. And he liked the fact that I was married and we had a good marriage. I remember one party, my wife is the famous Evelyn BRECHTLEIN who coordinated all those Electric Band records. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And did his 60th birthday bash, with all those CDs and DVDs and whatnot. She coordinated all that stuff.
Yes.
And but so we'd go to a party or something. Like we went to just a couple of parties, and Wayne, no, a couple of parties. Can't do that in Britain. But he every time he see Evelyn, he'd look, he'd point at her and go, Evelyn, Evelyn. The tune Emily, from, I think it's Spartacus, whatever. Or
yes.
Bill, whatever. I don't know who could. But he'd go, Evelyn, Evelyn. And he was really, I can't say enough about Wayne, really. I really can't. And I mean, we'll miss him, but we celebrate his life,
Absolutely.
He's here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's here with us,
He is. Well, I truly appreciate you sharing that history with us, because that helps his spirit to live on. When people listen to this and want to know a little bit more about who Wayne Shorter is, what his spirit is, and how he directed.
Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, let me ask you, because you as you were telling that story, you really gave me a couple more questions to ask, specifically from when you're taking instruction like that. But primarily, what do you think is the most important aspect of a drummer's performance? Whether in the studio or on the stage, especially if you have such a looming legend that you're working with. What is your most important aspect? Like, this is what I bring to the table. What do you think that is?
Make the other guy sound good.
All the time. How did you come about approaching your own style? Because, I mean, you do have your style. When I sit and listen to 4 or 5 different drummers, I know when Tommy's behind the kit. And how did you make that unique? This is my signature right here. How'd you go?
Well, you start copying everybody else, and then it's just like, thank you for saying that I have my own sound, because I never thought about that.
Oh my God!
To be honest with you,
come on.
And
now, let me ask: Are you just saying that you never thought that you had your own?
No, I'm not, because I'm always just thinking about doing the best job I can. I thought about it, like going and thinking about it. I go, well, do I have my own? I honestly don't know. I just, like, when I lay down a track or when I play with somebody, the thing is like, that felt good. That felt great, and everybody was communicating. There wasn't 3 guys playing 3 guys, or 4 guys, because it happens,
right?
Right.
I've been to many gigs where individuals,
and even when I start playing too much and stuff like that, I bring it back. Let's see what's happening here, and then you get a gauge, and then or play softer, and it's really accommodating everybody else. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here that I've never done a look at me thing, I mean. It happens, and then I realize it. I go, and then when it's time to look at me, then I'll do it. I mean, whatever. But if it's going to enhance the thing, that's what I mean. Really and truly, I mean, doing that old chestnut thing. It's about making it feel good, and if I'm satisfied with it, and everybody else feels comfortable with it,
Yeah.
it's really important. I mean,
Wow.
and
Well, can you
I used
talk?
to work with Joe. But go ahead.
Can you
Yeah.
talk about like your technique and your approach? Like when you're sitting down to practice, what are some of the techniques that you're kind of working on, or
I'm
still?
just trying to get the time really good and be able to at least have good basic time. So,
Mhm.
because everybody feels it a little bit differently,
Yeah.
and to have it good enough to accommodate other people when you get on the bandstand.
Yeah. Well, what is your
You know,
practice routine like? Do you practice every day? You
oh,
practice four?
well, I play very basic time, and then I'll start jamming and see what I can do
Hmm.
uh, with keeping to keep it still in the pocket,
Yeah.
but be able to enhance it, or like, in other words, yeah, it's just that kind of thing. And then I'll experiment, like, what can I get away with without getting in the way, you know? And
Those little
that I do on
tickles,
the
those little
bandstand. And
tickles
then
that
if
you
I
put in.
realize I get in the way, I go, oh, well, there you go. And then back off. But, I just try and, just make sure the limbs are comfortable. So when I sit down to play with other people, it's not as tense,
Hmm.
and it's not, just, it's relaxed. I mean, you're going to get tense. You're always adjusting the body and stuff,
Right.
and adjusting everything while you're playing
Right. Right.
to accommodate everybody else,
Right.
or to stand your ground and then play some stuff so they can play. I know this sounds so esoteric, and
No,
I
I
do
understand.
talk a lot. I had my coffee this morning, so please forgive me.
No, you're
But
fine.
uh, but that kind of thing, So I practice that, and I practice groove, and then I practice my shuffles to make sure it's like okay. And then I practice, the what I call the up and down stuff, the angular stuff, and then I just practice going around the drum kit just to keep that maintenance going,
Yeah.
so I feel comfortable. So it's just kind of centered.
Yes. Yeah.
But with time included, like you practice those difficult tempos that you're going, oh, I'm never going to make this, like the medium slow, between medium slow and slow, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. The tempos that you have problems with,
Sure.
you know, and but in all kinds of grooves, like jazz or Latin,
Right.
rock, R&B, whatever you want to call R&B, funk,
Right.
that
Right.
kind of thing. You know, try and learn how, and you keep, okay, how am I going to lay back on this? I mean, that's always a mystery.
Yeah.
On top, laying back, and yada yada. You know, and
Absolutely.
then I'll read some stuff, out of some snare drum books and basic maintenance to keep it
Mm.
going.
Hmm.
And then if I think of, because you've probably done this, you're practicing something and you're not quite getting it, but you're going, and then you'll go off and jam a little bit and come up with these really cool ideas. You
In
know
the
what I mean?
moment. In the moment.
You've
Yeah.
done that.
Absolutely.
We've all done that. That's great, because you
Yeah.
get to this zone.
And it's good to
And so
look
you
in the
leave it
rearview
on the back
mirror.
burner, and then you
Absolutely.
come up with this stuff, and you go, okay, I got to remember that. That's good. You know,
Definitely. Yeah, I was gonna say it, when you've practiced and you're actually on the bandstand and you look in the rearview mirror and you go, well, that was easy. But while you're practicing it, it was like, oh my God, I'll never get it. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it comes,
yeah,
whether it's
yeah.
muscle
Well,
memory or you
yeah,
just
yeah. Well,
being
hopefully on
as
the bandstand, you're not thinking, you're doing. You're having a conversation with somebody.
definitely, definitely.
You know,
But those thoughts do come in like, okay,
yes,
that was really efficient.
yeah.
I didn't struggle to make that happen.
Well, it's
That's
like,
really
the
cool.
thing is, like, you go, wow, what happened there? And then you go, well, just don't play that again. It's already gone. When you're on the band, don't do, because
That's true.
that's the Pandora's box. Oh, I'll
That's
do it
true.
again. It's like
No.
having, you have a good cappuccino and you have it and you go, that tasted great. And then you go, I'll have another one. It doesn't taste as good as the first one, you know?
Very
You
true.
know? So it's kind of like that. So it's like in my younger years, holy Christmas, I remember hearing a playback and I go, man, what happened there? That was cool. How did I do that?
Yeah.
And that's something I have to do again. Is just play, play through the track or play, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, most of the time I'm not thinking. I'm listening to the other person and trying to have a conversation with that person, or open up a conversation with that person.
Yeah.
You know, or the band members.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's another thing you can do by maybe playing softer or playing simpler. You open up the conversation, you know, make it safe for them, and then all of a sudden they come out, and vice versa. You know, I mean,
absolutely.
That's just me talking. You know, that's my viewpoint on it.
I love your perspective. When you were talking about Wayne Shorter, I said there were two questions that you prompted, but the second question was how did you meet Evelyn? You know, because she
how did you meet Evelyn?
Yeah, she has her own storied career. You know what I mean?
Well, we've been married for 40 years, going on 41 years this August 27th.
Excellent.
And we're having a blast.
Yeah.
But I met Evelyn. This is funny. I was still living in New York, and I did have a band with some people, and I recorded with John Bastianelli, Tommy Uzzo, who was he passed away recently. He's a great bass player, but he also engineered a lot of Coolio records and orchestra records out of New York, and a lot amongst other recordings. And he had a studio back on Long Island. And we recorded some stuff. And it was Tommy Uzzo, myself. I can't remember that. Anyway, so we recorded some stuff. And then at the time, Ron Moss was managing Chick.
Yeah.
But no, actually, they decided to take a break.
I see.
That's right. And they weren't, but Ron Moss had his own management company, and they were managing Al Vizzuti and Bunny Brunel. And Evelyn, who was 18 at the time, this is how she was doing Ron's books. 18, and she's doing accounting and stuff. And she lived in the back house where Ron was staying. And anyway, this is all comes together. Certainly. So believe me, hang with me.
I'm with you.
And I came in from New York and I had played him the tape, and he says, well, you need to remix it. It really didn't need to remix it. So I don't know where we remixed it. Maybe at Mad Hatter at the time. I don't even know if Mad Hatter was open. No, Mad Hatter just opened.
So who said you needed to remix it? Ron? Ron said you needed to remix it? Who said you needed to remix it?
Yeah. Ron. So I met with Ron, and I was at this club called Blackie's, and Evelyn's brother was playing guitar in this new wave band called Daniel Webster. And I was sitting with Ron, and a couple of my other buddies from New York were with me. And I was admiring Justin, my brother-in-law, who's now my brother-in-law, his guitar playing. He sounded great. And Evelyn was 18. She was sitting on the other side because if you were underage, you had to sit on the other side of the bar. And apparently she knew about 6 months before that I'm gonna marry that guy, right? Wow. And she didn't know who I was. How about that? That's weird. So now I'm gonna try and make it as short as possible.
You're good.
So Ron says Chick Corea's drummer is coming in to discuss some stuff. This is at his house. And she doesn't know. She's thinking of this old guy balding because she didn't have a clue. This bald guy. No offense. I'm balding in the back, you know. So
none taken.
20 must have been 23, 24 at the time. So I walk in, and then she sees me, and she goes, "Oh my God, that's the guy." I said, "Nice to meet you, Evelyn." And then we just started to try and get a hold of Ron, because again we started having these phone conversations.
Yeah.
All the phone, like I knew her for years, and we were kind of the old cliche that best friends.
Yeah.
And so then I moved to Los Angeles because I was doing some stuff with Al and Bunny for his group. And then I started getting some stuff in town as I was doing stuff on the other side too. And then I started living with my buddies, Rory Kaplan, Mitch Dematoff. Mitch was a keyboard player and great composer. And Rory, who's done a lot of stuff now since then. He was actually Chick's tech, but did a lot of stuff later on for Fairlight and worked with Michael Jackson, blah, 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 and on and on. So anyway, so I lived with them. And then one thing led to another. Then we went out to dinner, saw a movie as friends. And then after that, we just became a couple. And then before the second date, I said, "I think we should live together."
Before the second date?
I was 18. And then, so we did. And then I remember we were out on a date. And it sounds corny, but she gave me a kiss. And she said, "Will you marry me?" And I went, "Gosh darn it." She goes, "What?" I said, "That's what I was going to say to you." That's the third date.
Wow.
And she goes, beautiful. "What?" And I went, "Well," she goes, "What?" I said, "Will you marry me?" She started laughing. And she said, "Yes." And then we got married, and we lived together. We lived in Sin for a year. And then we got married.
Wow.
You can edit all this stuff out, And we've been married for 40 years, going on 41.
That is beautiful. Beautiful story.
And I was lucky. I was lucky because she understood the musician's life.
Yeah.
She also had two older brothers.
Yeah.
So
both musicians? Both her brothers musicians?
No. One is an incredible mechanic. Mm-hmm. And he's moved back to Scotland. And Justin is a great guitar player, but he's going back into the music business. He's playing with some bands in Arizona. I think he's in Tucson. He just moved to Tucson. And so he's starting out again and doing that. And yeah. So when we've had some meetings where I said, "What should I do?" And sometimes she says, "Well, you should charge more." Or I have this dilemma: should I do this, do that? And then she just, give me the alternatives. Mm-hmm. And she's an amazing chef too. Mm. She's amazing. I'm not saying it because she's my wife.
Sure.
She is absolutely amazing. She broke the code on some of our favorite restaurants back in Los Angeles, and now she does it here. Oh, it's incredible. You go like, what? So we could talk about that some other time, but I can go on and on.
That's
and
great.
Of course,
I'm really very, very happy about that. Lori and my wife and I are only half that. We'll be 28 years in just a
congratulations.
few weeks, and it takes a special kind of woman to be married to a musician.
So it's not only that, but then you learn about being a husband to somebody who's not a musician.
That is correct. Because just last night I'm on my way to the studio and I'm like, it's a inside joke between us. You want to go to the studio with me? She's like, no, but she's a realtor, and she's like, you don't want to go out and sell houses with me,
Right?
You know what I mean? It's just, and she's very comfortable, and she doesn't complain about the late nights or any of that stuff. It's beautiful.
I remember in the beginning. That's great, by the way. Does she sell a lot of houses?
She sells a lot of houses. I'm grateful for her.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. All is well.
Yeah. I'm
Probably
grateful.
must tear her hair out when she's trying to close a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some red tape,
These people
man.
are hemming and hawing and this and that, you know.
But here's the one thing about my wife. I'll say this and then I'll ask you a couple more questions. But the one thing that I thought was my wife is very quiet. She's an introvert. I'm the extrovert in the relationship.
Mhm.
And when she first got into it, I thought this is not going to work because you have to talk to people. But the broker that she had at the time was like, "But Jerry, you just don't understand. The house actually sells itself, and the less talking that Lori does is much better. I mean, because even when things are kind of heated and, the
Mhm.
seller wants this and there's this negotiation, Lori just lets it play out. She doesn't try to really jump in and intervene. And that's what does it.
Well,
Her calm
that
demeanor.
works in her favor, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, absolutely. So,
Well,
yeah,
great. That's good on her. Lori,
yeah.
right?
Lori. Yep, that's correct.
Good on you, Lori.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah, and she hasn't been in the
And,
studio with me one time in 28 years, maybe when we were dating.
mhm.
But other than that, go ahead and do it. Let me hear the mix once you're
All right.
done.
How many kids do you have?
3 daughters, all adults now, and grown is just the
Nice.
two of us, empty nesters. So,
Oh,
yeah,
so how does that feel?
feels great.
Now they're in
The
the house.
first 3 months was kind of strange. And maybe we'll edit this part out. But the first 3 months was kind of strange because I mean, we're raising kids and you have those disagreements, but there's always the kids that you kind of use the euphemisms and have to deflect. But when it was just the two of us,
Right.
it was like, well, what did you mean by that? We had to go like head to head. What was up? After that, after we worked that, psh, beautiful.
Sure. Sure.
Absolutely. Best
Well,
life.
congratulations. They're
Thank
all
you.
doing well, right?
They are. They are definitely. I'm
That's
grateful.
awesome.
Really.
That's awesome.
Very much
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. This is not the normal conversation. You want to ask about drums. You want to ask about Robben Ford. You want to ask about Chick Corea, for crying out loud. I love the Zephyr album, what you did on Don Grusin's album. I mean, I'm a fan. I am.
It's funny you mentioned Zephyr.
Yeah.
Don just got in touch with me uh last month.
Is that right?
And he said I did the Raven record and the Zephyr
Oh,
record.
Raven was just. Oh my God. Gee,
Yeah,
hi.
yeah. And
Yeah.
he sent me a track. He said, I really love what you did on this. This is like, that's funny that you mentioned that because this
Yeah.
was just it was at the beginning of this month and I forgot to answer him back. I said, thank you so much, Don. And I'm sorry for being a butthead for not getting back to you sooner.
Wow.
And he wrote me this. Let me see if I got it. It was
Well, when
great.
you talk to him, tell him, I want to have a conversation with him because, I love his stuff. I was such a fan of his brother,
Mm-hmm.
and then so when they did Sticks and Stones, that was the first time that,
Mm-hmm.
I was exposed to Don's music and then just followed him
Yeah.
after that. But I don't know. I've seen him on LinkedIn. Hey, man, I would love to have a conversation with you, but, maybe, you can
Yeah,
put
I
in a
asked him
word for
what.
me.
Yeah, Don is great to work with. I mean, we had a blast
Yeah.
during this. I can't remember which tune it was. He said, he goes, "Yo, TB, thinking about you when I rediscovered this great track among many that you so tastefully play." Okay, yeah, and anyway, he said, "Miss you, I miss you in those times." It's called the Oracle,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
there was another one I remember we did that had like sort of a second line thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Good album though.
I remember he says, "You got anything?" I said, "Yeah, I gotta say, I'll bring my Yamaha drum machine in tomorrow, and I'll show you what I programmed."
Yeah.
So I programmed this. I can't remember the name of the tune, but I played over it. I think he even used my drum program on that thing, and
Wow.
and then I played over it, and we had a blast. I mean, we went
Yeah.
to Japan together.
Yeah.
Had a nice group there, and that's on YouTube with Patti Austin.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
I remember Patti and I got along really great. I mean, we're both from Long Island, New York, but we got. I mean, it was all Patti doing the cut-up stuff. I don't think we ever got through one tune.
Wow.
We were just goofing around at Third Encore in Los Angeles. And I'm thinking, how are we going to get what? I mean, the first gig is like in a couple of days. And so I started joking around with it too, But man, we played the first gig and everything came together. I was like, what? I was like, we played everything right, Wow. And she's amazing.
Yeah.
She just sings in tune all the time. It's like falling off a log with her.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, back then they had phones, so I remember my wife called me. Evelyn called me, and they had the phone in the studio, and I'm talking to Evelyn, and Patti goes, "Who are you talking to? Is that your wife?" He said, "Yeah." I goes, "Give me that phone." He goes, "Your husband's crazy." She was just Patti.
Wow,
was amazing. Is amazing.
Yes,
she's a wonderful. Anyway, enough of that. But anyway, yeah, Don, he's going to give me a call next week. I can't wait.
Yeah, tell him, man. Tell him you got to go on the Entree Musician. Tell him there's this little, bald brown guy that would love to have a conversation with him about his great work. You know what I mean?
I will. I'm sure he'll respond.
Yeah.
And he'll say, well, yeah, I think I kind of, that's the best imitation I could do with Don. I called him up. He goes, Tom, I think I can't even do it right anymore. I used to be able to do it great.
What was very interesting is what Dave Grusin and Larry Rosen put together. I mean, there was that moment in the late 80s and 90s where GRP just dominated. Anything that was on there, on that label, you were discovering new music. I mean, they just had their nose to the grindstone. It was a beautiful moment.
That was a great outlet for some people, for a lot of people,
Absolutely.
Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, you learned of Marcus Miller, Bobby Broom, Bernard Wright. It's just Tom Brown, just all.
Tom Brown, I was going to mention him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, wow, GRP just opened up this plethora of all these young cats.
Yeah, it gave a lot of things. I think Patti was on GRP.
I believe so. Yeah, absolutely. But I love her work with Quincy. One of my favorite covers of Patti, when she covered Stevie Wonder's "Bet You Wouldn't Hurt Me." I thought,
right, and on sounds and stuff like that, she sings on that. Yeah. And she's brilliant. I mean, she's probably one of the most amazing singers. She does it like, I mean, she could be eating breakfast. You put a mic on her. Patti, can we do this in one take? Yeah, sure. And it's perfect.
And it's done, right?
You know what I mean?
I do.
I mean, and she has fun with it. It's like I said, it's like rolling off a log. It's amazing. I'm glad I got to work with her. I mean, even Natalie Cole was like that when I worked with her in 1990 to 2000. And I remember the first rehearsal, we rehearsed the band already, and I remember she went towards me, she started singing, and I'm going, that is perfectly in tune and amazing. Wow. I mean, just the way, to kind of witness that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure, you have Whitney Houston, you have that stuff. I never worked with her. I mean,
sure.
But I can only imagine working with talent like that,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's incredible when you hear somebody that's really good at what they do, like beyond good.
Right.
And you're playing with them and you're hearing this stuff and you go, oh my God.
Absolutely. Well, let me
I did that watching John Robinson. What?
Let me ask you. Oh, John Robinson. No, you got to tell me about John Robinson. Then I'll ask you a final question. I guess we'll
sure.
We'll cut it here. But John Robinson, you got to tell me about him. Funk foot. I mean, just solid kick.
Oh, and the sound he gets out of the drums. That's the way he plays.
Yeah.
Well, we were at the Baked Potato. I'd seen him play a bunch of times, but this particular night at the Baked Potato, he was playing with his group. I think it was his group. I remember the sound. I mean, thought I was listening to a record. Not the sound, but the way he was playing, what the sound he was getting out of the drums, and everything. I went up, I told him, I said, my God, this is brilliant. Yeah. You know, same thing with Harvey Mason. The first session I did in Los Angeles, he did the morning sessions.
Yeah.
What a gentleman he is. Harvey Mason, man.
Absolutely.
He was wearing cowboy boots playing the crap out of this music and wearing big old cowboy boots. And just playing, getting an incredible sound and I did it it's amazing to witness him playing, you know. Those guys, unbelievable. I reminded it of him. It's just I could tell you the story another time, but it's just, he was a gentleman.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Well, I'm hoping to have another opportunity to talk with you, man. This has been great. I mean, this is just what I would have hoped, just a conversation and see where it goes. And man, you've shared a lot of gems and jewels. But I guess I would ask you this one last question, I guess, as a wrap up. But what would you tell? Well, I don't know. I can't. That's not a good question because, well, what would you tell a musician who's coming up right now? So much has changed, right, in the music industry. I was going to ask you, what would you tell the younger you? But you've really lived that blessed life of being able to.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate, especially the time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that time, there were a lot of opportunities, but there's still some cool opportunities now. You basically, if you're an artist, when you have to do all the work, but at least it takes out some of the middleman thing,
True.
I mean, there are pros and cons to everything, but I'm just saying, just keep it going, and don't let anybody say that you can't do something. A lot of people used to tell me that's not going to happen. Or that's not going to happen. And I went like, that wasn't even in my vocabulary, that's not going to happen.
It's beautiful.
I mean, there were so many goals I set for myself. And, you have to have the goods. Absolutely. But you just can't sit around and say, yeah, I got the goods. Sometimes that does happen. There are a lot of people, they just kind of play and people go, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a different, just keep the thing in sight and just keep going and play the best you can and think of others.
Yeah.
I have mistakes where I haven't thought of others, but there are no regrets because it's today. Today is in you.
That's right.
And you make your own future,
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely right.
So it's like, yeah, man, it's like you got to keep on going. And just like anything, there are going to be great people. There are going to be not so great people.
Right.
There are going to be people that tell you this, and tell you that, and they tell you this. They're going to people that are going to praise you. There are people who are going to like whatever. Right. Just keep it in sight, and it never ends in trying to improve.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly appreciate the time that you've given to us. I hope this won't be the last time that you hang out with us here at the Entre Musician, and maybe this will be edited, maybe it won't. I mean, it should just
it's your
beautiful.
You got it.
Thank you.
Well,
and
thanks for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to come on. It's been wonderful. And as I said before, hope it won't be the last. And I guess that's where we'll cut it. It's never easy to cut a conversation like that with someone who is so storied and so blessed in his career. I know you got a lot out of it. I want you to check out tombrechlin.com and check out his discography, his wonderful videos. He has so much to offer, especially if you are up and coming drummer. You want to learn from the best. My name is Jerry B. I am the Entre Musician. Check out theentremusician.com. Don't forget to pick up my best-selling book, The Path of the Entre Musician, 9 Keys to Unlock Your Mindset, Discipline, and Focus. You can get it on Amazon. So what's stopping you? Go there now. Do it today. I'll see you next time. Many blessings.